walking might be one of the most underrated tools for health and fat loss, especially after the age of 50. See, as you get older, your body doesn't work the way that it used to. You put weight on more easily, your energy doesn't feel quite the same, and new aches and pains seem to show up out of nowhere. Fortunately, something as simple as regular walking as a habit can turn things around. I've helped well over 100,000 people across the country and the globe lose weight and fix their health, and I can confirm that one of the most powerful things that you can do is commit to a consistent walking routine. So in this video, I'm going to show you the biggest benefits that you can expect when you start walking every day, and we'll begin with what happens like right away. Then we'll move into what shifts over the next few weeks, and finally, we'll look at what you can expect if you keep it up for years. And as a bonus at the end, I'll explain exactly how much walking you need to get the best results, and of course, you won't want to miss that. So to start, I'm going to show you what happens in your body within the first few minutes of walking, because the changes happen a lot faster than most people realize. Let's say you just finished dinner. You sit down, you feel fine, maybe a little full, but inside your body, something problematic is happening. Your blood sugar is rising, and as it rises, your body releases insulin to deal with the food that just came in. Insulin's job is simple. It moves sugars out of your blood and into your cells. And when there's more sugar than your cells need in that moment, the extra gets stored as fat. Even more problematic is that after the age of 50, this system doesn't run as smoothly as it used to. So that blood sugar spike sticks around longer, causing more insulin to circulate, and your body stays in storage mode longer than it should, storing fat. Now here's where walking completely changes that story. If instead of sitting down, you stand up at minimum and begin to move, walk, your muscles immediately start using that sugar for fuel, instant access. They soak up some of that circulating sugar so it doesn't get stored as fat. Even just 2 to 5 minutes is enough to significantly reduce blood sugar spikes. And if you have more time, 10 to 15 minutes has an even bigger impact. One study actually found that walking briskly for 15 minutes after at least one meal per day can reduce blood sugar almost as much as an insulin injection. So don't sit after meals, get up and walk. Once you're walking, within about 5 minutes, something else changes. Your mood. Believe it or not, the runner's high that you hear about doesn't just apply to runners. It happens with walking as well. Put a comment below if you've experienced this lift in mood by getting out and walking. It's the feeling of euphoria and deep relaxation that some people experience during aerobic exercise. And for years, scientists thought it was just endorphins, but it turns out that running and walking activates something called the endocannabinoid system. That's your body's own built-in calming and reward system. And it releases a compound referred to as the bliss molecule. That sounds nice. What's even more fascinating is that research shows moderate intensity is the sweet spot for that type of effect. Brisk enough that your breathing picks up slightly, but you could still hold a conversation. That's when your brain chemistry begins a shift, and why you come back from a walk feeling better than when you left. Next, there's one more shift that happens just within the first 10 to 15 minutes of walking. When you start moving, your heart pumps a little harder, blood flows more quickly, and immune cells that normally sit in reserve start moving into circulation. Even a short session of moderate walking is enough to significantly increase the circulation of what are called your natural killer cells. They're the special forces of your immune system protecting you against chronic disease. And here's what's interesting. 30 minutes doesn't produce much more of a spike than 15, which means you don't need a long workout to get the benefit. You just need to move. So for people over 50, that's a big deal because your immune system naturally declines with age, so that short walk isn't just helping your metabolism or your mood, it's literally keeping you healthy. And that begins in the very first walk. So now let's move from what happens in just one single walk to what happens when you repeat that walk consistently over the next few weeks, because this is where your body really starts adapting. One of the first noticeable shifts that people report within a few weeks is better sleep. Walking helps regulate your circadian rhythm, your internal clock that controls when you feel alert and when you feel tired. When you move during the day, especially in the morning or early afternoon, it reinforces the natural rhythm your body is designed to follow. Cortisol rises when it should, melatonin rises when it should. And over time, that rhythm becomes more stable. Research shows that around 30 minutes of walking most days of the week can significantly improve sleep quality within a month. In addition to better sleep, your brain starts producing more of a protein that's called BDNF. You can think of BDNF like a fertilizer for your brain cells. It supports the growth and maintenance of neurons, particularly in areas related to mood and memory. As a result, studies show that doing enough brisk walking each week can significantly reduce depression risk. I'm not talking about feeling better after a walk. I mean, your daily baseline mood actually improves. Then by the end of the first month of consistent walking, you should start to notice that you don't feel as tired every day. That's because all the walking is making your cardiovascular system more efficient. Your heart pumps more blood with each beat, and your muscles extract oxygen more efficiently and effectively. As a result, everyday tasks feel a lot less taxing. Things like going up the stairs or running errands become just a little more smooth to do. You also won't feel quite as tired during the afternoon crash that many people experience. This is where people start noticing that walking is making a real difference just in everyday life. And we haven't even reached the best changes yet. So now let's look at what happens when walking stops being a short-term program. It starts becoming a lifestyle, not a short-term temporary trick or hack or thing we grinded through. It turns into what you do. These are the changes that you can expect in the first 6 months when that starts to be your lifestyle. One of the most exciting changes shows up in the mirror, because this is when people really start to see some real fat loss. Some people lose a couple of pounds per month, others lose 4, 5, or even up to 7 pounds per month once walking becomes consistent. And this isn't just scale weight. Walking is particularly effective at shrinking visceral fat, the deep belly fat behind your abdominal wall. Research shows reductions in visceral fat that can range from 10 to almost 30% over a 12-week period of steady walking. It often shows up as 1 or 2 inches off the waist in the first month. So be sure to watch your measurements, not just the scale. Sometimes the scale doesn't move, but you are burning up fat and establishing muscle, which is why many people notice their midsection shrinking before that scale dramatically drops. Okay, next, around this same time frame, your cardiovascular fitness noticeably improves. That's because your heart is a muscle, and when you walk briskly, you challenge it. Over time, it responds by pumping more blood per beat. That means your resting heart rate can decrease while your blood pressure and your endurance improve. This is also where nitric oxide production improves. Nitric oxide helps relax blood vessels and improve circulation, which reduces strain on your overall cardiovascular system. So even if you don't feel your heart getting stronger, it is. Next, this is the part most people don't expect. Long-term walking has been shown to improve the size and the connectivity of the hippocampus. That's the area of the brain responsible for memory. As we age, specifically that region naturally shrinks, but consistent aerobic movement helps slow that process. In some studies, walking in older adults actually increased hippocampal volume over time, which means maintaining a walking habit for 6 months doesn't just protect your brain and your memory, it actively grows it. Okay, now that we've been and walked through the power of walking for just a few months, let me show you what happens when you walk for years. A lot of people over 50 worry that walking will wear out their joints, but your bones are living tissue. They rebuild themselves as you put pressure on them. When your foot hits the ground, that impact sends a signal through your skeleton. And specialized cells inside your bones pick up that force and respond by strengthening the structure. So over years of consistent walking, bone density, especially in the hips, can be maintained or even improved. That's a big deal for people over 50 because hip fractures are one of the most life-altering events in older adulthood. Walking could be one of the solutions. Speaking of that, after 60, that life-altering change can happen. Your sense of balance gradually declines. So there's a system in your body called proprioception. It's your internal GPS. It tells your brain where your body is in space without you even having to look. That system weakens if it's not challenged. Every step you take while walking is a small balance drill. Your inner ear, your vision, your joint receptors, all working and firing together to keep you upright, steady, balanced, and moving forward. Over years, that consistent practice reduces the fall risk. And reducing fall risk means preserving independence at all ages of your life. And then there's the biggest benefit of all. Researchers have looked at something called telomeres. These are protective caps on the ends of your DNA strands. Each time a cell divides, those caps shorten as shorter telomeres are associated with aging. But consistent, moderate exercise, including brisk walking, has been linked to longer telomeres compared to those found in sedentary individuals. So in simple terms, people who move consistently age more slowly. And they don't just look younger, they actually age slower at a cellular level. Now comes the big question. How much walking do you actually need to get these benefits? The biggest and most comprehensive analysis ever done on step counts found that the sweet spot for most major health outcomes is around 7,000 steps per day. Not 10,000, 7. That level was associated with dramatically lower risks of early death, heart disease, dementia, depression, and as we talked about, falls. Here's the encouraging part. Benefits start showing up in as low as 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day, but the biggest jump in health happens between doing very little and getting to about 7,000 steps. After that, you can still gain, but the curve kind of flattens out as far as benefits. Now, what does 7,000 steps look like? For most people, it's about 30 to 40 minutes of brisk walking plus your normal daily movement. This is what Nurse Livingood and I do very often, about 30 minutes. And brisk means you can talk, I can chat with her, but I can't sing to her. If blood sugar is your focus, then 10 to 15 minutes after a meal is a sweet spot. If fat loss is your goal, building towards that 8 to 10,000 step range can accelerate the results. But the main takeaway is this: you don't need extreme numbers. You just need to stay consistent. Even adding 500 steps per day has been associated with measurable reductions in cardiovascular risk. Small increases, repeated daily. That's where the real power is. Change your lifestyle, one habit at a time, one step at a time. Now, for a lot of people, especially older adults, their primary walking goal is fat loss, especially stubborn belly fat. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are walking in a way that makes fat loss slower. They're getting the steps in, but that's not enough if you really want to shed the pounds. Fortunately, there are small adjustments that completely change how your body responds to a walk. And once you see them, you'll never walk the same way again. So I break all of them down in my video called 8 Walking Hacks That Melt Belly Fat Fast. It's already been viewed well over 1 million times and helped a lot of people, because when people realize that they've been leaving results on the table for years, they want to fix it immediately. So if fat loss is your goal, that's the next video you need to watch. I'll include a link to that here. Click to watch it next, and I'll see you there.